I was standing on the Jackson Station platform, holding Jaden close, when I suddenly heard a familiar voice say my name. Naomi. Naomi Carter. Is that you? I turned around and froze. It was my father, Raymond. I hadn't seen him in almost 2 months. I kept coming up with excuses for why I couldn't visit him. I always cut our calls short, telling him I was tired or too busy. And now he was right in front of me. And from the look on his face, I knew he saw everything. Welcome to Betty's Stories. I share new life stories here every day, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and like this video. Now let's go back to my story. I'm sure you'll enjoy it if you listen till the end. My dad noticed everything. My worn-out puffer coat with a ripped pocket, the cheap boots with thin soles I bought online, Jaden in a snowsuit way too small for him, my gaunt face, the dark circles under my eyes, and my hands shaking from exhaustion and fear. "Dad," I managed to say, trying to smile, but my lips just shook. "Why are you at the subway station?" my father asked as he walked closer, his eyes full of worry. "What about your car? I bought you that new Kia 40 for your birthday last year. What happened to it?" "I sold it," I whispered, looking away. "I needed the money." "For what?" His voice tightened. "Naomi, what is going on? You look completely worn out. Why haven't you been answering my calls? And where is Darnell?" I felt tears starting to build. For 2 whole months, I held everything inside. 2 months of fear, silence, doing whatever they told me, giving them money, taking the insults, waking up every day terrified. But looking into my father's eyes, I knew I couldn't hide anymore. "Dad, let's go somewhere private," I whispered. We walked into the corner bistro, a small coffee shop near the station. My father sat Jaden down at a table, ordered him apple juice and a big cookie, then sat in front of me and took my hand. "Tell me," he said. "All of it." And I did. I told him everything. I explained how, after Jaden was born, my mother-in-law, Loretta Jenkins, started visiting more often. At first it looked like caring advice, then it slowly became demands, and then threats. I told him how she discovered that the 2-bedroom condo downtown, my grandmother's legacy, was fully in my name, and how she started pressuring me to sign the property over to Jaden for his future. I refused. My voice shook as I told him. I explained it was my grandmother's inheritance, and I wanted to manage my own property. And that is when everything started. I stopped speaking for a moment. My father didn't say a word. He only tightened his grip on my hand. "A week after I refused, you got jumped," I said softly. He looked up at me. "Remember that evening near your house? You said it was just random vandalism." "I remember," he replied. My father's face suddenly went cold and stiff. "It wasn't random," I said. The very next day, Loretta came to my place. She sat in my armchair, sipping tea, and said, "How's your daddy doing? I heard he got roughed up. You know, things happen these days, especially to older folks. Next time it could be worse. Much worse." She was smiling when she said it. My father went pale. I saw his jaw tighten, but he stayed quiet so I could continue. I was scared, terrified, but I still refused to sign. Then Darnell showed me a video. I took a shaking breath. It was me, supposedly screaming at Jaden, shaking him, saying horrible things. "But it's edited, Dad." They took pieces from different moments, cut them together, and removed the context. But the video looks real. Very real. They said they would send it to Child Protective Services. That CPS would take Jaden away. That they could prove I'm a bad mother if I didn't sign the papers. "Those monsters," my father said, the first time he spoke with the anger boiling inside him. "That's not even all," I said, wiping my tears. "Loretta used her contacts to get copies of my corporate documents and financial reports from my job, and she forged them. She made it look like I was stealing from the company. The numbers, the signatures, everything looks exactly like me. She told me that if I don't obey, she'll send the documents to my boss and the police. She said they'd lock me up, and Jaden would be gone." My father closed his eyes and took a slow, deep breath. "Keep going," he murmured. "They want my whole paycheck," I said quietly. "Every last dime. Darnell takes my bank card on payday, withdraws everything, and hands it to his mother. They leave Jaden and me only $75 a week for food, transport, daycare, everything. I stopped buying new clothes. I wear whatever I have. I get Jaden's clothes from the cheapest outlets online. Sometimes I borrow money from co-workers just to feed us. The car, they forced me to sell that too. They told me to sell it and give them the cash. I sold it for $8,000 even though it was worth $12,000. Loretta took it all. She called it the first installment for their silence. My father's voice turned icy. Where is Darnell in all this? He's completely with his mother, I said. He keeps telling me I should be grateful they haven't taken Jaden. He says I should listen or things will get worse. He controls my phone. He reads my messages. They warned me never to tell anyone, especially you and Mom. They said if they found out I complained, next time, you wouldn't just be assaulted. Loretta's brother, Leonard, did time years ago. It was his people who jumped you. She told me herself that he can fix any problem. I covered my face with my hands. Everything I hid for 2 months poured out. The fear, the shame, the helplessness. I cried while my father gently stroked my arm, waiting for me to calm down. They still want the condo, I whispered. They want me to sign it over to Darnell, and he'll pass it to his mother. They say it's only fair, since I'm with their son, that my grandmother's condo should be their family property. I keep refusing, but they're pushing harder. Last week, Leonard's people were just standing outside Jaden's daycare. Just standing there, watching. It was a warning. They said next time they'll walk inside. Why didn't you tell me? My father asked, squeezing my hands firmly. Why didn't you tell me the moment all this started? I was scared, Dad. I cried. They already hurt you once. I couldn't risk them doing it again, or hurting Mom, or taking Jaden. They have the forged documents. The video. They have people who will do anything. I'm trapped. I don't know what to do. My father stood up, walked to the window, and stared outside silently. Jaden was happily eating his cookie, not understanding anything happening around him. I looked at my father's back and realized that telling him didn't make me feel safer. It made me more scared. What now? What happens when Loretta finds out I told him? My father came back to the table, sat down and looked straight at me. And in his eyes, I saw something different. Something cold, sharp, unfamiliar, professional. Naomi, he said quietly, there are some things you don't know about me. What do you mean? I asked. You know I served 20 years in the army, my dad said. But you don't know where exactly. I frowned. My father never really talked about his service. All he ever said was that he served, retired, and then started working as a security consultant. I was in special operations, he continued. Army intelligence. 20 years of field work. Surveillance, recruiting people, analyzing threats, taking targets down. I know how to find information people are trying to hide. I know how to find weak spots. I know how to plan operations so that the target doesn't even realize they're trapped until it's too late. I stared at my father, my mouth slightly open. Special operations. Army intelligence. My father, who had always seemed like a quiet, ordinary man. I didn't completely leave that kind of work after retirement, he said. I still consult on security. I have connections in law enforcement and in different agencies. I know people who will help me if I ask. And I have skills you don't just forget. Dad, I don't understand, I said. You will now. He leaned closer. Your mother-in-law and her ex-con brother think they're the smartest people in the room. They think they can blackmail, threaten, and intimidate anyone they want. But they picked the wrong family. They touched my daughter and my grandson. That was their biggest mistake. There was steel in his voice. In that moment, I realized that the man sitting across from me wasn't just my dad. He was someone who knew how to really fight, not with fists, but with his mind, his contacts, and his experience. What are you going to do? I asked quietly. I'm going to fix this so they never even think about you or Jaden again, he said. So all their threats turn back on them. But I need time. And I need your help. What kind of help? I asked. You need to act completely normal, he said. Keep giving them your money. Keep taking the insults. Keep behaving like nothing has changed. They must not know you told me anything. This is very important. They have to believe you're broken, that you'll stay quiet and obey. Do you understand? I nodded, even though my stomach twisted with fear. How long? I whispered. A few weeks, maybe a month, he said. I need time to gather information, prepare evidence, and plan everything. We can't rush this. If we move too fast, they'll destroy all the proof and disappear. We have to do this precisely with no mistakes. And if they find out I told you? I asked. They won't, he said firmly. We won't meet again in person for now. And we won't talk on the phone. We'll use a secure messenger I'm going to install for you. The messages will delete automatically. There'll be no trace on your phone. Even if Darnell checks, he won't see anything. Dad, I'm scared, I whispered. I know, he said gently. But you have to trust me. I won't let anyone hurt you. No one will touch you, Jaden, or your mother. I promise. I've handled bigger problems than a greedy mother-in-law and her criminal brother. Just hold on a little longer. Can you do that? I looked at Jaden. He was smiling at me, his little face smeared with cookie icing. Then I looked back at my father. His eyes were calm, confident, sure. I nodded. I can. Good girl, he said. Now listen carefully. My father took out his phone, installed an app on mine, and showed me how it worked. He taught me how to clear the logs and hide everything. He gave me tips on how to deal with Loretta and Darnell. The main thing is this, he said. Don't show that anything has changed. You are still the same scared, broken woman who will do anything to protect her child. That's what they have to see. But inside, he added, remember this, it's a game. A temporary game. It will be over soon. We walked out of the coffee shop. My father hugged me and kissed Jaden on the top of his head. Hold tight, sweetie, he said. I'm right here, even if you can't see me. I walked back toward the subway, holding my son's hand. For the first time in 2 months, I didn't feel only fear. I felt something else. Hope. That same evening, in the kitchen of his condo, my father took out an old notebook and started writing down names, connections, and organization charts. The plan for the operation was forming in his mind like a puzzle. 20 years in intelligence had trained him to see the full picture. He started listing. Loretta Jenkins, 60 years old. Brother, Leonard, 58 years old. 2 convictions for robbery and extortion. Released 3 years ago. Still has criminal ties. Likely organized the assault. Darnell Jenkins, 35. Weak-willed mama's boy. Fully under his mother's control. High chance he can be turned if pressured correctly. Naomi's forged work documents. Need forensic analysis. Proof they're fake. The video with the child. Also needs forensics. Confirm it's edited. My father picked up his phone and dialed a number. Solomon, it's Raymond. Yeah, it's been a while. Listen, I need help. Small, unofficial operation. Surveillance, recording, tech support. UN. He paused, then smiled slightly. Excellent. We'll meet tomorrow. I'll give you the details then. He hung up and called another number. Then another. By midnight, he had a small team of 4 people, former colleagues from his army days. All trusted. All ready to help off the record. The work started the next day. Solomon, the former tech specialist, installed bugs in Loretta's condo. It took 2 days of watching her routine, and only 15 minutes of actual work while she was out shopping. The microphones were tiny, almost impossible to spot without professional equipment. They sent audio to a recorder placed in the apartment next door. An apartment my father had rented through a contact in real estate. Andre, a former operative, started tailing Leonard. Photos, videos, meetings, people he spoke with, places he went. He had to record all of Leonard's movements and connections. Within a week, a thick folder of material was on Raymond's desk. Owen, who now worked at a private forensic lab, took on the documents and the video. He tore the fake financial reports apart in 2 days. The signatures were clearly forged. The numbers were changed with a graphic editor. The signs of editing were obvious to an expert. The video with Jaden was classic montage, pieces cut from different moments and stitched together. Owen wrote an official report that could be used in court. Malcolm, the one with strong police contacts, started digging into Leonard's criminal history, past convictions, current cases, known associates, recent activities. It turned out Leonard hadn't changed. He was involved in several new extortion schemes. The evidence so far was weak, but it was something. Raymond coordinated everything, analyzing the data and building the final plan. After 2 weeks, he had the whole picture. The bugs captured Loretta meeting regularly with her brother. Their conversations were devastating. She openly talked about how to pressure me, how to force me to sign the condo over, and how to use threats to keep me quiet. Leonard suggested increasing the pressure and organizing another attack, so that the little fool finally gets it. They laughed at me, called me weak, talked about how they would split the money after selling the condo. Raymond listened to the recordings, feeling a cold fury rise inside him. But he controlled himself. Emotions are the enemy of operations. Cold thinking is what you need. He divided the plan into 4 phases. Phase 1. The marked money. Raymond used old intelligence contacts to get access to specially marked bills. They were normal banknotes, but their serial numbers were logged in a database. If they turned up in a search, they would directly connect the person holding them to a crime. I was supposed to give my next paycheck using this money. Loretta would take it, pass some to her brother, and then it would just be a matter of technique. An anonymous tip to the police about Leonard's extortion, a search warrant, and the marked money found in his home. A straight line of evidence. Phase 2. The psychological trap. Loretta needed to feel safe and overconfident. Raymond decided to fake a health crisis, a heart attack, hospitalization. Let her think one of the main witnesses was about to die. When people feel like that, they relax. They talk more freely. They take bigger risks. And everything would still be recorded. Phase 3. Recruiting Darnell. Raymond understood that his son-in-law was the weak link. Darnell wasn't truly evil, just weak and afraid of his mother. Raymond needed to wake him up, show him how he was being used, and give him a way out. If Darnell turned and agreed to testify, and to share his mother's communications, the case would be almost guaranteed. Phase 4. The final trap. I would agree to sign the condo over. A meeting would be arranged at a real estate attorney's office. Loretta would show up, likely with muscle for backup. The operatives, with a warrant and all the evidence, would be waiting. Raymond reread the plan, made some changes, then locked in the details with his team. Everything had to work like clockwork. Then the execution began. I handed over my next paycheck, $1,500, in the marked bills. As always, Darnell took my bank card, withdrew the money, and gave it to his mother. Loretta counted the cash, nodded in approval. "Good girl, Naomi," she said. "See how easy life is when you listen? Soon you'll sign the condo papers, and all your problems will disappear. You'll live in peace." I said nothing. I kept my head down, staying in character as the broken woman. Inside, I was counting the days until it would all finally end. 3 days later, Raymond went to the hospital. Solomon arranged everything with a doctor he knew. An official note in his medical chart, a room, for drips. It all looked real. The news quickly reached Loretta through Darnell, who called her like a concerned son-in-law. Seriously? His heart. Loretta leaned back on the sofa when she heard. Well, at his age, it's not surprising. Leonard, sitting beside her, smirked. Maybe he'll die on his own, and we won't have to handle him. One less problem. Loretta lit a cigarette. The main thing is that Naomi doesn't try to complain, she said. Who would she complain to? Her dad's in the hospital. Her husband's on my side. I have the evidence. She's not going anywhere. Their whole conversation was recorded. The bug in the condo worked perfectly. Raymond lay in his hospital bed, listening to the recording through headphones, and nodded. Everything is going according to plan, he thought. They're getting careless. The following week, Malcolm used his police connections to set up a routine, check on Leonard after an anonymous tip about possible extortion. A search warrant was issued. The police showed up early in the morning. Leonard opened the door in his boxers, half asleep and angry. What the hell is this? He snapped. Major Crimes Unit. Search warrant, the officer said, showing the paper. Let us in. The search lasted 2 hours. They found plenty. An unregistered gun, a small amount of drugs, and most importantly, the money. $1,500, neatly hidden in a coffee tin in the kitchen. The serial numbers were checked right away in the database. Where did this money come from? An officer asked. It's mine. I earned it, Leonard snarled. Understood. The operative replied calmly. These bills are linked to an active extortion case. You'll have to come downtown with us. Leonard was taken away. Loretta found out about it an hour later and went into full panic mode. She called Darnell immediately. Your Uncle Leonard was arrested, she shouted. They searched his place and found something. He mentioned the money I gave him. Did your wife talk? Did she betray us? No, Mom. She doesn't know anything. She's at home, Darnell said quickly. Calm down. I'll check. He went home, grabbed my phone, and went through everything. Calls, texts, socials. Nothing looked suspicious. The secure messenger Raymond installed was hidden so deep that you'd never find it unless you already knew it was there. It's clean, Darnell told her. She hasn't called or texted anyone. Loretta calmed down a bit, but the worry stayed. Leonard was in jail. No charges yet, but the situation was serious. This was the moment Raymond chose to move on to the Darnell part of the plan. Malcolm arranged a meeting through a therapist Darnell had seen a year earlier. The therapist called him. Hello, Darnell. Remember me? We worked together last year. I have a request. A friend of mine wants to talk to you. It's important. It's about your family. Darnell agreed, thinking it was some psychological matter. They set the meeting in a neutral coffee shop. Raymond arrived early and sat in a booth in the corner. When Darnell walked in and saw him, he went pale. What are you doing here? You're supposed to be in the hospital, Darnell stammered. Sit down, Raymond said calmly, pointing to the chair. We need to talk. Darnell sat, clearly nervous. Listen to me carefully, Raymond said. He placed a tablet on the table. I know everything, he went on. About the threats, the blackmail, the extortion, the forged documents, the edited video, everything. And I have proof. He played an audio recording. Loretta's voice. That fool thinks she can refuse me. I'll squeeze her so hard she'll sign that condo over on her knees. Leonard's voice. We should scare her one more time so she understands this is serious. Darnell listened, his face getting paler and paler. That's not what you think, he started. Shut up and keep listening, Raymond said coldly. He played the next recording. Loretta's voice again. Darnell is such a doormat. I tell him do this, do that, and he runs. We broke Naomi too. We'll get the condo soon, sell it and split the money. Of course, we won't give Darnell anything. Why would we? He's useless. Darnell covered his face with his hands. Do you see now? Raymond said sharply. Your mother is using you. You are destroying your own family. You're terrifying your wife, taking money away from your son. For what? For a mother who laughs at you behind your back and plans to leave you with nothing. I thought it was for the family, Darnell whispered. What family? Raymond shot back. You turned your wife into a terrified slave. You're helping steal her inheritance. You're a part of extortion, threats, document forgery. Do you understand? You're a criminal. Darnell sat in silence, holding his head. You have two options, Raymond said, leaning closer. You can keep obeying your mother and end up in court next to her. Or you can walk away from this now, testify, and help us get more evidence. Then you might avoid jail and try to fix at least something with your son. What do you want from me? Darnell asked quietly. Your text messages with your mother, Raymond replied. All her messages about the plans, threats, Leonard's activities. Access to any documents she's hiding. Your full testimony about everything that's happened. And one more thing, you keep acting the same. She must not suspect anything until the very end. And if I refuse? Darnell asked. Then I take everything I have straight to the police, Raymond said calmly. Your mother will go to trial. Her brother is already under arrest and more charges are coming. And you'll go with them as an accomplice. Naomi will divorce you and get full custody of Jaden. You'll see your son through glass at the detention center. Your choice. Darnell stared at the table for several minutes. Finally, he said quietly, I'll give you the messages and my testimony, but I don't want Naomi to know how low I fell. She already knows, Raymond said. But if you help now, maybe your son will forgive you one day. Maybe. Darnell nodded. That same evening, Raymond received full access to Loretta's text messages. They were very clear. Plans to take the condo, discussions with Leonard, instructions to Darnell on how to control me. Everything was now documented. All that was left was the final blow. Loretta was nervous. Leonard had been in custody for a week. The detective kept asking uncomfortable questions about the money. She could feel danger, but couldn't find the leak. I stayed quiet, submissive, clearly broken. Darnell acted obedient. Raymond was in the hospital, and the latest updates said his condition wasn't great. Maybe it's time to finish the condo matter, she asked Darnell at dinner. This is dragging. You said Naomi is still resisting. Yes, Mom. She's scared, Darnell said. She keeps saying it's her grandma's inheritance, that she can't just give it away. Tell her there's no more time to think, Loretta snapped. She needs to sign this week. Leonard's locked up. I need money for his lawyer. We'll sell the condo for at least $350,000. That's enough for me. What about me? Darnell asked, trying to sound normal even though he was filled with self-disgust. You'll be fine. Don't worry, Loretta said. The main thing is to make her sign. Threaten her. Tell her the daycare will find out about the video, or that we'll visit her father in the hospital. She has to understand once and for all. Darnell nodded, recording the conversation with a hidden recorder in his pocket and sending the file to Raymond over the secure app. Raymond was released from the hospital 10 days later. The doctors allowed him to go home but forbade any exertion. He made sure to look weak and worn when Darnell drove him home. Loretta even sent a polite message wishing him good health. In reality, during those 10 days, Raymond had been coordinating the last stage of the plan. All the material was ready now. Audio recordings, text messages, Darnell's testimony, forensic reports on the documents and video, and proof of the marked bills found with Leonard. All that remained was to stage the final scene and catch Loretta in the act. Malcolm set up a meeting with the detective on Leonard's case and showed him some of the evidence, enough to get his full attention, but not everything at once. The detective, an experienced man in his 50s, went through the tapes and documents carefully. Systematic extortion, threats, document forgery, he said, putting the papers down. This is serious time if we prove it all. But we need a clean, fixed transaction. What do you suggest? He asked. A sting operation, Raymond replied. The victim agrees to sign over the condo. A meeting is arranged at a real estate attorney's office. Loretta comes, probably with muscle. The moment she demands the signature, thinking she's won, your people walk in with a warrant. Everything she says will be recorded. The attempt to seize the property will be fully documented. The detective thought about it. I'll need approval from the prosecutor, he said. And the attorney has to be involved. I'll find the right lawyer. If we explain everything, they'll help. When do you plan this? He asked. In 3 days, Raymond answered. Will you be ready? I will, the detective said. They shook hands. The operation was officially entering its final phase. I was in the kitchen when a secure message from my father appeared on my phone. Get ready, it said. Tomorrow, tell Darnell you agreed to sign the condo. The day after tomorrow, set the meeting with the attorney. It ends in 3 days. Hold tight. I took a deep breath. 3 days. Just 3 more days until this nightmare ended. My hands were shaking as I deleted the message. I was terrified, so scared I wanted to scream. But I trusted my father. He wouldn't let me down. That evening, when Darnell came home from work, I spoke quietly. I agree, I said. I'll sign the condo papers. Darnell froze and stared at me. What? I can't live like this anymore, I said. Let them take the condo. I just want them to leave Jaden and me alone. I'm tired of being scared. Tired of being hungry. Let them have what they want. I sounded so hopeless that even Darnell, who knew the truth, almost believed me. Maybe I was a good actress. Or maybe 2 months of fear had simply taught me how to sound broken. Are you serious? He asked, trying to act normal, while inside he was full of guilt. Yes. Call your mother. Tell her I'm ready. Tell her to set the meeting with the attorney. Darnell stepped out onto the balcony and called Loretta. She picked up on the first ring. Well, Mom, he said. Naomi gave in. She agreed to sign. There was a pause, then Loretta's triumphant laugh. I knew it, she said. I knew that weakling wouldn't last. When does she want to meet the attorney? The day after tomorrow, Darnell replied. Perfect. I'll handle everything. Make sure she doesn't change her mind. And tell her to bring the original condo documents. Everything has to be ready so we can process it immediately. Okay, Mom. Loretta hung up and immediately dialed another number. Raymond, listening through the bug in her condo, pressed record. Hello, Solomon. It's Loretta, she said. I need your help the day after tomorrow. I need you to come to a real estate attorney's office. Just watch over a transaction. My daughter-in-law is signing over the condo. I'm afraid she might chicken out. I want you standing next to her, so she knows we're serious. Yes, just like last time with her father. Great. I'll meet you at the office at 2 p.m. Raymond smirked to himself. She was walking straight into the trap. She was bringing a known enforcer to intimidate the victim inside an attorney's office. That was direct evidence of coercion. He couldn't have planned it better. He called the detective. The day after tomorrow, 2 p.m. Ms. Victoria's office, 23 Garden Street, Raymond said. Loretta will come with a man named Solomon. Ex-boxer. History of assault. He'll threaten my daughter so she'll sign. Your people need to walk in the moment the documents are handed to the attorney. Got it. We'll be ready, the detective replied. The attorney, Ms. Victoria, was a strict but fair woman. When Raymond explained everything and showed her the recordings and documents, she agreed to help immediately. I've practiced for 20 years. I've seen a lot, she said. But to take someone's inheritance like this through threats, what should I do? Act normal, Raymond replied. Accept the documents, begin the paperwork, ask standard questions. The main thing is to make it clear that my daughter is acting under pressure. If Loretta or her guy starts threatening or pushing her, try to get it on record. Ask Naomi if she's really signing of her own free will, or if there have been any threats. Loretta won't be able to stay calm. She'll start justifying herself or pushing harder. That's when the officers come in. And what if Loretta keeps quiet? Ms. Victoria asked. She won't, Raymond said. I know these types. When they think they're about to win, they become arrogant. She'll slip up. Very well, Ms. Victoria said. I'll help. All that was left now was to wait for the day. The morning of the meeting, I barely slept. Jaden woke up early and wanted attention, but I could hardly focus on him. My mind was racing. My father sent a short message. All set. I'll be nearby, in a car across the street from the office. Don't be afraid. You've got this. Darnell was tense. He knew his mother was about to fall, but he was still worried. What if something goes wrong? What if she somehow escapes this? Those thoughts kept running through Naomi's mind. At exactly 1:30, they drove to the attorney's office. Loretta Jenkins was already waiting at the entrance. Beside her stood a huge man with a shaved head and a scar on his cheek, Solomon the enforcer. The way he looked at Naomi made cold fear crawl up her spine. Well, finally you came to your senses, Loretta said smugly. Did you bring the documents? Yes, Naomi whispered, lifting the folder. Excellent. Let's go. They walked inside. Ms. Victoria greeted them with a polite, professional smile and showed them to their seats. The office was bright but small, with a heavy wooden desk and shelves packed with files. A security camera sat quietly in the corner, normal for a real estate lawyer. All right, Ms. Victoria said as she opened her notepad. You want to transfer the deed for your condo? Ms. Naomi Carter, do I understand correctly that the property belongs to you through inheritance? Yes, Naomi replied softly. And who do you want to transfer it to? My husband, Darnell Jenkins. Understood. Is this your voluntary decision? Naomi hesitated. Loretta quickly jumped in. Of course it's voluntary. She wants the condo in her husband's name. That's normal for a family. I'm asking Naomi, not you, the attorney said firmly. Naomi, is anyone forcing you? Is anyone threatening you? No. Naomi stared at the floor. I want to do this myself. Solomon coughed loudly in the corner, a warning. Ms. Victoria looked at Naomi, then at Loretta, then at the enforcer. Very well. I need the documents, the deed, your license, the marriage certificate. Naomi's hands shook as she pulled everything from the folder and placed them on the table. The attorney started reviewing each document, making notes. Loretta fidgeted impatiently with her purse. She could smell victory and couldn't wait. Will this take much longer? She snapped. As long as required by law, Ms. Victoria answered calmly. She turned back to Naomi. Do you understand that after this transfer, you lose all ownership rights to this condo? I understand. And you accept that? Yes. All right. Read the agreement and sign here, here, and here. She slid the document across. Naomi picked up the pen, but her hand trembled so badly the pen nearly slipped from her fingers. Loretta leaned in, watching her like a hawk. Come on. Hurry up. Don't drag this out, she whispered angrily. Naomi signed the first line, then the second. She lifted the pen toward the third signature and froze. What is it? Loretta barked. Sign it. I don't know. Tears dripped onto the paper. Damn it. Loretta grabbed her arm. Are you backing out? After everything we discussed? Did you forget what happens if you refuse? Loretta Jenkins, the attorney snapped, standing up. Calm down. Naomi has the right to change her mind at any moment. What right? Loretta turned back to the attorney, furious. She thinks she can just walk away? Solomon rose from his chair, stepping forward with a threatening posture. Young man, sit down, Ms. Victoria ordered. Or I will call security. Solomon, sit. Loretta hissed. She tried to soften her tone and turned back to Naomi. Sweetheart, this is for your own good. For Jaden. Just sign it. Everything will be fine. If you don't sign, remember what we said about the daycare. About CPS. Are you threatening her? The attorney demanded. I'm not threatening, Loretta shot back. I'm explaining. She stepped closer to Naomi, glaring. This is your last chance. Sign it now. Just then, the office door burst open. 3 men in plain clothes entered, followed by a detective and 2 uniformed officers. Loretta Jenkins, the detective announced, flashing his badge. Major Crimes Unit. You are under arrest for extortion, threats, and coercion during a property transaction. He turned to Solomon. And you, Solomon, are under arrest as an accomplice. Loretta's face went white. What? Extortion? I didn't do anything. We have recordings, text messages, and witness statements, the detective said. He nodded to his officers. Take them. Solomon tried to run, but they caught him instantly. Loretta screamed and fought back. This is a setup. Naomi, tell them you wanted to sign it. Darnell, why are you quiet? Darnell sat silently, head down. Darnell. She grabbed his shoulder. Say something. I already did, he whispered. I told them everything. The threats, the blackmail, the forged documents, what you did to Grandpa, everything. Loretta jerked back as if someone hit her. You betrayed me. You forced me to betray my own family, he said quietly. I ruined my life because I was scared of you. But not anymore. I'm done letting you control me. The detective held up the warrant. Loretta Jenkins, you are being charged with extortion by an organized group with threats of violence. Punishable by 5 to 10 years. You have the right to remain silent. This is a mistake. Naomi, tell them. Naomi stood, looking her in the eye. You took 2 months of my life. You dragged me into poverty. You humiliated me. Took my last pennies. Threatened my child. You even ordered my father to be assaulted. You thought you broke me. But you were wrong. I am not alone. Loretta and Solomon were dragged out in handcuffs, their screams echoing down the hallway. The detective approached Naomi. "Ms. Carter, we need a full statement. Are you ready to come to the precinct now?" "Yes," she nodded. "Thank you, Ms. Victoria," the detective added. "We'll need your testimony too." Naomi walked outside. Her father's car was parked across the street. Raymond stepped out, rushed to her, and hugged her tightly. She broke down in tears against his shoulder. "It's over," he whispered. "Everything is going to be all right now." The next 2 weeks were filled with interviews, evidence checks, and court procedures. Leonard was charged with planning the assault and organizing the extortion, proven by the marked bills. He got 8 years in maximum security. Loretta was charged with 3 crimes: extortion, forging documents, making threats. The investigation lasted about a month. Darnell gave a detailed statement, explaining every step of the blackmail. Raymond handed over the tapes with Loretta's recorded threats. Forensic analysis confirmed that Naomi's documents had been altered. The video with Jaden was proven fake. The case collapsed completely. Naomi's company apologized, reinstated her position, and even gave her a big raise for the emotional damage she suffered. Darnell avoided criminal charges because he cooperated, but Naomi filed for divorce immediately. It was quick. Darnell didn't fight, accepted his guilt, and agreed to everything. Loretta received 5 years of probation with a restraining order. She wasn't allowed to go near Naomi or Jaden within 300 feet. Her age, clean record, and partial confession helped her avoid prison. But she still lost everything: her son, her grandson, her money. She even had to sell her condo to pay her lawyers. On the courthouse steps, Naomi felt a huge weight finally lift. Her father stood beside her, holding Jaden. "Mommy, why are you crying?" "Happy tears, baby," she said, hugging him. "Just happy tears." A week after the divorce, Darnell asked to see her. They met at the same coffee shop where Raymond had once confronted him. "I know you won't forgive me," he began, avoiding her eyes. "I know I destroyed everything. But I want to try to fix what I can. I want to be in Jaden's life. I want to help financially. I'm not asking for us to get back together. Just give me a chance to be a father." Naomi stayed quiet for a while, staring at her cold coffee. "You hurt me deeply, Darnell. You watched your mother humiliate me. You took my money, controlled my phone, and threatened me. You chose her over me." "I know," he whispered. "And I'll live with that forever. But Jaden, he deserves a father." "Yes," she said softly. "He does. So I'll allow weekend visits. Once a week, but only if my father is present. If you prove you've changed, maybe we'll adjust later." "Thank you," he breathed, relieved. "I won't let you down." He offered his hand. Naomi didn't take it. "This isn't forgiveness," she said. "This is a chance for Jaden, not for you." He nodded and left. 6 months later, Naomi's life transformed. She got promoted. Her salary nearly doubled, and she bought a small SUV, perfect for outings with Jaden. She moved into a new 3-bedroom apartment, bright, spacious, and peaceful. Jaden got his own room. She also rented out her grandmother's condo for $1,800 a month. Slowly, the nightmares faded. Her fear disappeared. She started smiling again, dreaming again. Raymond visited often, playing with Jaden. The boy adored him. One evening, Jaden sat on his grandpa's lap. "Grandpa, were you really a spy?" "I was, sweetie." "Did you spy on people?" "Not exactly. I protected our country from bad people. And I still protect the most important ones in my life." He smiled and hugged them both. "You and your mother." Jaden hugged his grandfather tightly. "You're the best grandpa in the world." Raymond looked over at his daughter. She was in the kitchen making dinner, humming a tune. She was smiling, alive, free, and happy. Exactly how he had always wanted to see her. Everything had worked out. The operation had been a success. The enemy was taken down. The family was safe. And justice had won. Just like the old days of his service. Except this time, the mission was personal, not national. "Dad, dinner's ready," Naomi called from the kitchen. "Coming, soldier," Raymond answered, lifting his grandson into his arms. The commander is calling us to the table." The three of them sat down to eat. Grandma wasn't there. She had gone to visit a friend. Jaden talked non-stop about preschool, his new friends, his teacher, the games they played. Naomi listened, served him food, and laughed at his stories. Raymond watched them and thought that this was exactly why he needed to carry out that operation. So his daughter could laugh again, and his grandson could grow up happy. After dinner, Jaden fell asleep on the sofa, hugging his teddy bear. Naomi covered him with a blanket and sat down next to her father. "Dad, I wanted to say thank you for everything. If it weren't for you, I never would have gotten out of that hole. Loretta Jenkins would have crushed me completely. She would have taken the condo, the money, maybe even Jaden. You would have managed on your own," Raymond argued. "Just later. You're strong and smart. I only sped things up and made sure everything was legal." "No, Dad. I was broken. Those 2 months of fear destroyed me. If you hadn't stepped in, I would have signed those papers out of desperation and exhaustion. I would have signed and lost everything." "But you didn't sign," Raymond reminded her. "You waited. You trusted me. That also takes strength." Naomi hugged her father. "You taught me the most important thing. Never give up. Even when it feels like there's no way out, there's always a way out. If you don't give up. I'll remember that. And I'll teach it to Jaden when he grows up." They sat quietly, listening to the soft breathing of the sleeping boy. Outside, it was getting dark. City lights were turning on. Life was moving forward, a new clean life, free from fear and threats. Raymond stood up, getting ready to leave. "Good night, sweetheart." "Good night, Dad. And thank you again for just being you." He smiled, kissed her forehead, and left. Naomi stayed alone with her son in her condo. Her condo. No one could take it from her now. No one could threaten her. She was free. Finally free. A year had passed since the day Loretta Jenkins was taken out of the attorney's office in handcuffs. A year of freedom. A year of a new life. A year of healing from a nightmare that had once felt endless. Naomi sat in her office. Now she had a private room with a nameplate on the door that read, "Head of Analytical Department." She had been promoted 3 months after the trial ended. The management had not only restored her reputation, but had also publicly apologized for not seeing the signs of blackmail earlier. Her salary had increased 2.5 times. Now she could provide everything Jaden needed, and still save money for the future. On her desk lay the lease agreement for the old condo. The tenants paid $1,800 a month regularly, a solid passive income. Her new apartment was bigger, brighter, and in a great neighborhood near a park. Jaden had his own room filled with toys, books, and learning games. He was growing up happy, surrounded by the love of his mother and grandfather. Darnell still met his son every Saturday. At first, Raymond was always present. Later, when Naomi became sure Darnell had really changed, she allowed them to meet one-on-one. Darnell took Jaden to the zoo, to the movies, and bought him gifts. But more importantly, he talked to his son, asked about his life, and tried to make up for the lost time. Naomi could see that he was truly sorry. That didn't mean she forgave him, but she accepted that people can make mistakes and still try to correct them. Darnell had no contact with his mother. No calls, no messages, no visits. Loretta Jenkins tried to reach him several times, sending letters where she begged for forgiveness and asked for help, but he ignored her. He had chosen his son over his mother. Too late, but he had still chosen him. One Saturday, Naomi, Jaden, and Raymond went to the park. Spring was warm. The trees were covered in fresh leaves. Tulips were blooming in the flower beds. Jaden ran ahead, chasing pigeons and laughing loudly. Raymond walked beside his daughter with his hands in the pockets of his light jacket. "How are you, Dad?" Naomi asked. "We haven't really talked in a while." "I'm good. Plenty of work, but that's fine. I like feeling useful." "You were always needed," Naomi said softly. "Especially by me." Raymond smiled. "You know, when I retired from intelligence, I thought my operational work was over. I imagined myself as a consultant, sitting in an office and analyzing reports. But it turned out the most important operation was still ahead of me. The operation to save my own daughter. And you handled it perfectly," Naomi said. Like a real professional. The stakes were high, he answered. If we had failed, you would have lost everything. The condo, your freedom, maybe even Jaden. I couldn't afford to make a mistake. And you weren't afraid something would go wrong? She asked. Raymond paused. I was afraid. Of course I was afraid. But fear is normal. The main thing is not to let it control you. You use it to make you more careful, more thoughtful. Fear makes you attentive, if you know how to handle it. Jaden ran back to them, out of breath, cheeks red. Grandpa, Mommy, look. I found a stick. Can I take it home? Of course, sweetie, Naomi smiled. The boy ran off again, proudly waving his stick. Raymond watched him. He's happy. That's what matters most. Children need to grow up feeling safe, without fear. You're giving him that. We're giving him that, Naomi corrected. You're a big part of his life too. A huge part. They walked to a bench and sat down. Jaden played nearby, building something on the ground with sticks and stones. Dad, I wanted to ask you something, Naomi said quietly, turning to him. You always talked about your service in general, but you never gave details. What exactly did you do in intelligence? What were those operations like? Raymond looked off into the distance. Most of it is classified. My non-disclosure agreement is still in force. But I can tell you a little, not the details, just the bigger picture. The life of an operative isn't like in the movies, he went on. It's not all car chases, shootouts, and flashy fights. Mostly it's brain work, gathering information, analyzing, planning. You watch people for months, study their habits, weaknesses, and connections. Then you prepare the operation to get the information you need or to neutralize a threat. Everything must be quiet, clean, and discreet. Like with Loretta Jenkins, he added. In general, I used the same methods as before: surveillance, wiretaps, recruiting people. Only this time, the enemy wasn't a foreign spy, but a greedy woman and her criminal brother. But the principles were the same. Collect evidence, lure them into a trap, neutralize. And were there dangerous moments? Naomi asked. Times when you feared for your life? Raymond was silent for a moment. There were a few times I almost ruined an operation. Once, I was nearly exposed in hostile territory. I had to cross the border at night on foot, without papers. Another time, the team I was leading was ambushed. 2 men died. The rest of us barely got out. That was a nightmare. You never told us about that, Naomi whispered. You didn't want to worry the family, did you? Your mother knew the work was dangerous, he said softly. But I hid the details. Why give her more sleepless nights? She already worried enough. Naomi took her father's hand. You're a hero, Dad. A real hero, for your country back then, and for us now. I was just doing my job, he replied. Doing it well, because I loved it and because I knew people's safety depended on it. Back then it was millions of people in our country. Now it's the 2 people who mean the most to me. Jaden ran up, holding his creation of sticks. Grandpa, look. I built a fortress. An excellent fortress, Raymond said, picking him up. A truly unbreakable stronghold. Grandpa, will you tell me about being an operative? Jaden asked. About how you caught the bad guys? Raymond glanced at Naomi. She nodded. I will, soldier, when you're a little older. It's a long story. But can you tell me a little bit today? Jaden begged. All right, listen, Raymond said. Once, I needed to find out where a very dangerous man was hiding. He was smart, always moving, and trusted no one. But he had one weakness. He loved rare books and collected them. And we used that. Jaden listened with his mouth open. Raymond told the story in a simpler way, removing the scary parts and turning a real operation into a fun tale. Naomi listened too, understanding that every simple word came from a life he had once kept completely secret. That evening, after Jaden was asleep, Naomi sat on the balcony with a cup of tea. The city lights sparkled. Cars hummed below. But here on the 7th floor, it was calm and peaceful. She thought about the past year. So much had changed. A year ago, she had been a wounded, terrified woman who was scared of every phone call and every knock on the door. She gave away her last dollars, swallowed humiliation. and lived in constant fear for herself and her son. It had felt like there was no escape, like she was trapped forever. Now she was free. She had a good job, a decent salary, and was raising her son with love and safety. Loretta Jenkins could no longer hurt her. Probation and the restraining order kept her far away. Darnell no longer controlled her every step, took her money, or checked her messages. He was just a father who saw his son once a week, nothing more, nothing less. Naomi realized the main lesson she had taken from everything that happened. Never give up. Even when it feels like you're stuck, like every road is blocked, there is always some way out. You just have to find the strength to ask for help and trust those who can help you. She thought, if I hadn't met my father on the subway that day, if I had kept quiet, if I had kept enduring it, how would it have ended? She knew the answer. She would have signed the condo over. Loretta would have sold it, taken the money, and left Naomi and Jaden in poverty with crushed dreams. Or worse. She might have taken Jaden away through CPS using the fake evidence. But she had spoken up. She had trusted her father. And he had saved her. Her phone buzzed. A message from a coworker. Morning meeting moved to 10 a.m. Can you make it? She replied. Yes, no problem. Just a normal work text. A normal life. It felt so good for life to be normal again. A month later, something unexpected happened. She got a call from an unknown number. Naomi Carter? This is attorney Nicholas Sargent. I represent Loretta Jenkins. Naomi tensed. I'm listening. What do you need? My client is asking for a meeting with you. A private meeting. She wants to talk, apologize, and explain a few things. No, Naomi said immediately. I don't want to see her. There's a court restraining order. The meeting would be in a neutral place, with an attorney present, he replied. Yours if you like. It won't violate the order. MS. Jenkins has admitted her mistakes and is in therapy. She is truly remorseful and wants to ask for your forgiveness. I don't need her apologies, Naomi said. Ms. Carter, I understand how you feel, Nicholas answered. But sometimes a face-to-face meeting helps close a painful chapter in life. Think about it. If you decide to agree, call me. He gave her his number and hung up. Naomi stared at her phone. A meeting with Loretta Jenkins. Why? To hear more excuses, manipulation, and attempts to play the victim? That evening, she told her father about the call. What do you think? Should I go or not? She asked. Raymond thought for a moment. That's your decision. But I can give you some advice. If you go, it must be for you, not for her. If you feel you need to look her in the eye and say everything you think, then go. If you need this to completely close that chapter, then go. But if you're afraid she'll start manipulating you again, pressuring you, playing with your feelings, don't go. You don't owe her anything. I'm not afraid of her anymore, Naomi said. It's strange, but I really don't fear her. She doesn't have power over me now. Then you decide, Raymond replied. Naomi thought about it for 3 days. Then she called the attorney. I agreed to the meeting, she said. But only if my father is present, and no longer than 30 minutes. Agreed, he said. The meeting was scheduled at a corner bistro. Naomi arrived with her father and sat at a table by the window. Loretta came in with her attorney. Naomi hadn't seen her in a year and was shocked by the change. Her mother-in-law looked truly old. Her hair was gray, her face thin and tired, her back bent. She looked every bit her 60 years, maybe even more. She was dressed simply and cheaply, with none of her old elegance. They sat facing each other. Loretta stared at the table, not at Naomi. Hello, Naomi, she said quietly. Hello. Naomi's voice stayed cold. You wanted to talk. Go ahead. Loretta sighed. I want to apologize for everything I did. The threats, the blackmail, turning your life into hell. I was obsessed with money. I wanted the condo and the cash, and I didn't think about the consequences. I didn't think about the pain I was causing. You thought about it just fine, Naomi replied. You planned every step. You ordered the attack on my father. You forged documents. You edited a video of my child. Those weren't accidents. That was a deliberate blackmail system. I know, Loretta whispered. I understand that now. The therapist I'm seeing helped me realize how toxic and manipulative I was. How I destroyed my son's life, my grandson's life, and yours. I lost everything. Darnell won't speak to me. I don't see Jaden. The condo is gone. I have no money, no friends. I'm alone. And you want me to feel sorry for you? Naomi asked, her voice like steel. No. I'm not asking for pity. I deserve what I got. I just want you to know I am truly remorseful. If I could go back in time, I would never have started any of this. Naomi looked at her for a long time and then said, Do you know what the worst part of your story is? It's not that you tried to steal the condo. Not the threats. Not the blackmail. It's that you destroyed a family. You turned your own son into a puppet. You took away his will and forced him to betray his wife. You almost took my son's mother away from him. You did everything you could to make 3 people, me, Darnell, and Jaden, miserable. For what? For money? For a condo? Loretta stayed silent, tears streaming down her face. I can't forgive you, Naomi went on. I went through 2 months of hell. I starved. I was terrified. I cried at night. I thought about ending my life. You pushed me to the edge. And the only thing that saved me was my father. The same man you ordered to be beaten. Raymond sat calmly beside her, silent. His presence gave Naomi strength. But Naomi continued, I release you. I don't forgive you. But I release you. You don't have any power over me anymore. You don't live in my head anymore. You are the past. A painful, difficult past, but still the past. I'm moving forward. I'm building my life and raising my son. And you will live with the consequences of your actions. Loretta covered her face with her hands and sobbed. I don't deserve your kindness. This isn't kindness, Naomi replied. This is freedom. My freedom from you. Goodbye, Loretta Jenkins. We won't see each other again. Naomi stood up. Her father stood too. They left the coffee shop, leaving her former mother-in-law and her attorney at the table. Outside, Naomi took a deep breath. How do you feel? Her father asked. Light, she answered. Like a heavy burden has been lifted. I said everything I needed to say. I don't need anything else from her. Good, Raymond said. You behaved with dignity. They walked toward the car. Naomi glanced back at the cafe, where Loretta's hunched figure was visible behind the glass. Once, that woman had seemed all-powerful, scary, and untouchable. Now, she was just a miserable old woman paying the price for her greed. Life went on. Jaden started elementary school. Naomi chose a good school near their home, with strong teachers and interesting after-school programs. Jaden loved math and joined the chess club. His grandfather taught him how to play, explaining that chess was like an operation. You had to think several moves ahead and guess what your opponent would do. Darnell kept meeting his son. Slowly, their relationship grew stronger. Jaden got used to having a father who came on Saturdays, but lived somewhere else. That became his new normal. He didn't ask unnecessary questions. He accepted things as they were. Sometimes people at work asked Naomi, Why aren't you married? You're so beautiful, smart, and successful. She smiled and answered, I'm happy the way I am. I have my son, my father, and my work. That's enough for me. And it was true. She didn't feel lonely. Maybe one day she would meet someone who would become part of her life. Maybe not. She had learned to be happy on her own. Raymond continued consulting, helping his daughter and grandson, and living a calm, steady life. Sometimes, he got calls from old colleagues. They invited him to meetings of Army intelligence veterans. He went, chatted, and remembered the old days. But his greatest joy was his daughter and his grandson. One evening, the 3 of them, Naomi, Raymond, and Jaden, sat down for dinner. Grandpa, will you finally tell me about being an operative? Jaden asked suddenly. I'm big now. I'm 7. Raymond chuckled. 7 is a very big age. All right, I'll tell you. But not everything at once. Just a little at a time. It's a long story for many evenings. Hooray! Jaden shouted, bouncing in his chair. Start now. Okay, listen, Raymond began. Service in Army intelligence starts with a long check. They look into your whole past, your family, your friends. and test your mental strength. Then they train you. Years of training. Languages, tactics, surveillance methods, psychology, self-defense. You have to be able to do everything, speak several languages, understand technology, and read people like an open book. Jaden listened, eyes wide. What languages do you speak? 3 fluently, English, German, and French. And a bit of Arabic and Chinese, but I'm out of practice there. In our work, languages are the key. Without them, you can't work in another country. You won't understand what people say. And did you go to other countries? Jaden asked. Many places, Raymond replied. Europe, Asia, Africa. I worked under different cover stories, businessman, journalist, diplomat. The main rule was that no one could guess who I really was. Like a spy in a movie, Jaden exclaimed. Something like that, Raymond smiled. But without all the special effects. Real operative work is about patience and attention. You have to know how to wait. Sometimes you sit in a car for weeks, watching one person, writing down who visits them and where they go. It's boring but necessary. And was it dangerous? Jaden asked. Raymond looked at Naomi. She nodded. He could share a little. There was a time I was almost discovered, he said. I was in another country gathering information about a terrorist group. They realized someone was following them and started looking for the leak. I had to escape immediately, leave everything behind, and hide for a few days. Then I crossed the border at night, walking through the mountains. It was hard, cold, and scary, but I made it. You're a hero, Grandpa, Jaden said proudly. I was just doing my job, Raymond replied. Like many others who protect our country, soldiers, police officers, rescuers. They're all heroes in their own way every day. Naomi listened to them and thought how wonderful it was that Jaden was growing up with a grandfather like this. Someone who didn't just teach him chess and math, but also life. He taught him to be strong, responsible, and fair. To never give up. To face difficulties. To protect those who are weaker. After dinner, when Jaden fell asleep, Naomi and her father sat in the kitchen drinking tea. Dad, thanks for the story, she said. Jaden loved it. He needs those kinds of stories, Raymond replied. Boys need to grow up understanding real values. Honor, duty, protecting loved ones. Not just money or power, but those things. You're raising him right. Sometimes I worry that I spoil him, Naomi admitted. That I'm too soft. You're an excellent mother, Raymond said firmly. Strictness and gentleness have to be balanced. You love him, you care for him, but you also set clear limits. That's true, Naomi said, pouring tea. You know, sometimes I wonder, what if I hadn't met you at the subway that day? What if I had stayed quiet and kept suffering? No need to torture yourself with what if, Raymond replied. You met me and you spoke up. That's what matters. You weren't afraid to ask for help. A lot of women stay silent. They're scared, ashamed, or think they can handle everything alone. And then it ends up being too late. That's why it's important to talk about it. If any of your friends ever end up in a similar situation, now you know, you must act, ask for help, and not stay quiet. Silence is the abuser's best friend. Naomi nodded. I'll remember that. They sat quietly, listening to the wind outside the window. The city continued with its life. Millions of people were solving their problems, celebrating, grieving, loving, and arguing. Normal life. And Naomi was grateful for that normal life. For being able to sit peacefully at home without fearing a knock at the door. For being able to plan her future without worrying about handing over her last dollars. For her son growing up happy. And for having her father close, ready to protect her always. A few more months passed. One evening, Jaden was doing homework while Naomi was cooking dinner when the phone rang. An unknown number. Hello. Naomi Carter? This is Attorney Nicholas Sargent. We met a year ago. Naomi tensed. I'm listening. I'm very sorry to bring this news. Loretta Jenkins passed away last night. A heart attack. I'm calling because she left a letter. She asked me to give it to you if anything ever happened to her. Naomi froze. She died. Yes. The funeral is the day after tomorrow. If you'd like to come, you can, though I understand you probably won't. No, I won't come. Can you email the letter to me? Of course. Please give me your email address. Naomi dictated it, said goodbye, and hung up. She sat down on a chair, trying to process what she'd just heard. Loretta Jenkins was dead. The woman who had caused her so much pain was gone. She didn't feel happy about it, but she didn't feel pity either. Just emptiness. That chapter was finally closed. That night, after Jaden fell asleep, she opened her email. The letter had arrived. She opened the attachment and started reading. Naomi, if you are reading this letter, it means I am gone. I want you to know a few things. First, I truly was remorseful. Our meeting at the coffee shop was not an act. I understood how terrible I had been. Greed blinded me. I lost my humanity. Second, I am proud that you did not break. You turned out stronger than I thought. You found a way out and protected yourself and your son. That deserves respect. Third, forgive Darnell. He became who he was because of me. I raised him weak and dependent, and I never taught him to be a real man. That is my fault. He is trying to change. Give him a chance. Fourth, tell Jaden that his grandma loved him in her own way. A wrong, toxic way, but still love. Please don't let him remember me only as a monster. And finally, you deserve happiness. Don't be afraid to trust people again. Don't be afraid to open your heart. Not everyone is like me. There are good people. Your father is proof of that. Goodbye. Loretta. Naomi finished reading and closed her laptop. She sat for a long time, staring into the darkness outside the window. Then she whispered softly, "Goodbye, Loretta Jenkins. I hope you find peace." And in that moment, she felt the last thin thread connecting her to that nightmare snap. Now everything was truly over. 2 years later, Naomi stood in the kitchen of her new condo. They had moved again into an even larger place, a 4-bedroom with a park view. Jaden was now in 3rd grade, an honor roll student, and a winner of math competitions. Darnell still met with his son regularly. Their relationship had become warm. He had remarried and had another child. Naomi was genuinely happy for him. Everyone deserved a second chance. Her father lived nearby and stopped by almost every day. He had turned 60, but he was still energetic, active, and full of life. He had recently written a memoir about his intelligence work, without classified details, of course, but full of interesting stories. The book had become a bestseller. It was the weekend. The whole family had gathered for lunch: Naomi, Jaden, Raymond, and Naomi's mother. The table was set, and the house smelled of delicious food. Outside, it was a bright spring day. "Grandpa." Jaden pulled a medal out of his backpack. "Look, I won the chess tournament." "Way to go, soldier." Raymond took the medal and examined it. "I knew you could do it. Remember what I told you? Chess is training for the mind. The one who can think several moves ahead wins." "I remember," Jaden said proudly. "And I thought the way you taught me." Naomi watched them and felt complete happiness. Her son was healthy, smart, and joyful. Her father was close, wise, strong, and loving. Her life was full of meaning, work, and love. The nightmare was far in the past. It had no power over her present. After lunch, they went for a walk in the park. Jaden ran ahead. Grandpa and Mom walked slowly behind him. Raymond put his arm around his daughter's shoulders. "Are you happy?" he asked. "Yes, Dad. Very happy." "I'm glad," he said. "That's all I ever wanted, for you to be happy." They walked along the path. The sun shone through the leaves. Birds were singing. Children's laughter could be heard somewhere in the distance. A normal spring day. A normal, happy life. Jaden turned around. "Grandpa." "Mom. Hurry up. I want to show you where the squirrel lives." They picked up their pace and caught up with him. The three of them walked deeper into the park. And Naomi thought that this was real happiness. Not money. Not condos. Not careers. But these moments. When you're with the people you love most. When the sun is shining. And when there is peace and calm inside you. She had gone through hell, but she had come out of it. She hadn't broken. She had become stronger. She had learned not to be afraid to ask for help, not to be ashamed of weakness, and to trust her loved ones. And most importantly, she had learned to forgive. Not to forgive Loretta Jenkins, but to forgive herself, for enduring, for staying silent, for being afraid. Now she knew she was stronger than she had ever thought. And she knew there would always be people by her side who would protect her. Life went on, a beautiful life, full of hope, and there was still so much good ahead. I'm really glad you're here, she said to the viewer, and that I could share my story with you. If you liked it, please show me by liking the video and subscribing to my channel. Let's see how many of us are here. Write in the comments which city you're watching from, and what time it is right now. I'm so curious to know where all you wonderful people are tuning in from. I share new life stories for you every single day. And now, 2 of my most popular stories will appear on the screen, so you can choose which one to watch next. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next story.